Welcome to Hi-Fi. I'm Marcos, this is Kurt, and this is part 2 of exploring the Montreal Audio Show. One thing that I found stood out quite a bit with the Montreal Audio Show is the overall vibe and excitement of not only the people that attended, but also all of the exhibitors as well. It was really fun and everybody was really excited to be there. One thing that I've also found stood out quite a bit was all the live performances that they had during the show. It wasn't just analyzing audio systems. There was a whole bunch of cool live performances that really captivated the audience.
And two people I'm glad to see at the show, and it's very good to see you again. And thank you for visiting me a couple of years ago in Calgary. I don't want to butcher the name, so I'm going to let you...
The two artists are Vincent Belanger and Isabeau Cordevo.
It's not a sponsorship. I always just like supporting special people that I know, and if you're looking for just really good quality records or music, she told me she's going to be streaming pretty soon here. So to play back or test your systems, I really recommend, because they do things at very high level recording. I want to also give a shout out to Dave at Pulseworks Audio, who has a studio there. I heard amazing things about the next album. We got to listen to a piece of it during the show. This is, from what I heard, is going to be one of his best sounding recordings they've ever produced.
Getting back into our mini reviews, the PS Audio Room was definitely no disappointment at around $110,000 USD. That's my estimation of the total system. It was featuring their new FR30 flagship speakers, the BHK monoblocks, the direct stream DAC, the BHK Pre, an amazing PS Audio SACD player, and also their P15 power regenerators. So I tried to listen to the system a good number of times during the show, probably 5 times. That room was always packed, as you can imagine. And they were definitely playing it louder than I would have enjoyed, but totally understandable for an audio show. There's lots of stuff going on. One thing I did find with these is just the control of that speaker over the bass was absolutely incredible. It also features passive radiators in the cabinetry. Another thing that was pretty interesting that I found was quite different was the use of like 2 ribbon drivers as well on the top. So you have a large ribbon covering more of the high mid-range all the way up, and then almost like a super tweeter ribbon part just underneath it.
One thing is, overall, very transparent, very open sound, also very big sound. So if you're gonna listen to like a lot of big bands, orchestral music, anything that you're gonna capture a large stage, something like this is going to move a lot of air. One thing also they did a very good job setting it up. I know at shows, it is just from my experience, setting things up at shows, it's very difficult. One thing they did quite smart, even though it wasn't loaded with acoustics, they made sure to really kind of center the speakers, move them away from the walls, away from the sound walls. That way you hear more of just the speakers itself. So good job on the setup. For the music part, I listened to some of the one from Peter Gabriel, famous one, Don't Give Up. The overall sound was, what I noticed extreme, was deep. And I guess, again, that's a lot to do. Also helps when you got the speakers placed that much more forward. And another thing with that song too is, what I really noticed is the off-axis response. So even until I got to when I first moved into the room, I was quite off to the side. But even in that case, when I popped it in, it sounded really good off axis, and then when it got into the middle, that's where I noticed the soundstage and everything. Just I can really hear what it was doing. Again, really excellent job. And another one which I think is a good quality recording song was from Niels Lofgren. You know, that's the articulation on the guitar it's some of the better or best that I've heard. You know, for me though, I think I just heard this song way too many times. It's kind of like the usual suspects in terms of playing for music in an audio show, and I've heard it a lot. What I would really like to see when you got a system that this open, this transparent, is, you know, how well it would do is if we ran some, you know, some pop, 90s alternative, 80s rock. You know, I'm very curious to see what would be going on. You know, of course, at a show, just to respect what they're playing. You know, I'm not going to request a lot of that kind of music, but you know, it'd be very, very interesting. When we're saying for the price compared to the PMC room, which I know which one of your favorites, the way the tone is, I know, and I've heard a lot of music, whether it's rock or stuff, through that. Again, very similar price, but because they have a very, you know, different, just a different kind of sound signature they're looking for, I really would not, just in comparison, to see how well it would have done in that kind of music. So moving on to the Hegel Room, it was nice to see Anders there. It's been a long time since I've seen him, and I got to show him our new YouTube video, and I can tell he watched it a few days later because he made some comments on it, and I told him, you know, what I was planning to do. So hopefully we'll keep, you know, getting product for us to look at, and really good to chat with him.
Hegel Room, I found definitely didn't disappoint. I really enjoy that Hegel.
It was a 190 I think,
system.
Yeah.
They were playing mostly the 190 there, but they actually had every single Hegel product there, from their humongous monoblock, the H10, all the way down to the H95, which was pretty cool to see the whole lineup in one room. In that room, it sounded pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan of those Apertura speakers.
I think the speakers are good, but go on. Yeah, I'll take my take. Yeah.
I've listened to Hegel for quite some time, and I found it does control speakers extremely well. So the bass control was extremely nice and clean, and then the overall soundstage and presence was really nice. Once again, even on those speakers, I still quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, you know, going back to the speakers, maybe we're just used to hearing Hegel, or I'm used to hearing Hegel, to a lot of very, really quick, dynamic speakers. And because the Hegel, it really stands out when you match it with those pair of speakers. So this was actually a nice difference. Was it my favorite combination I ever heard with the Hegel? I wouldn't say so. You know, there's some, I think, really neat things, because it wasn't as quick and dynamic. And just to look over here,
maybe a bit more lean back.
Yeah, like for example, they were playing Bubbles, another one that, you know, a lot of audio places likes playing. I know Anders usually plays a wide variety. You know, I just maybe caught them during this song, but it's a cool sounding track. You know, the intensity when these almost like ping pong balls are dropping. Usually there's quite intensity when it hits the ground, and it just delivers this live feeling that people are dropping real balls. It didn't have that sense in this system with this particular speakers, unlike when I heard, like, say, Hegel through a pair of PMCs. However, though, one thing I did notice, things are just generally the design of it. It was designed to be a little bit more diffused, and I think those speakers in that combination, especially in the speakers, that was something that they purposely did. It's because it's not giving you that pinpoint sound, because not everybody likes that. You know, a lot of people, to them, when they hear live, they don't hear it like as if, oh yeah, you know, drummers is dead center right there, this is right there, vocals in the back up there. This just created more of that kind of that illusion that, you know, things are live, things are coming you all at once. Different than I've heard Hegel before, but nonetheless, I still think a very good room.
I kind of wish now that I spent maybe some more time in that room listening to it, because it would have been better to have some more time on those speakers.
Yeah.
So at the start of the show, I actually popped into this room for a brief second and got pushed out almost. There were so many people visiting this room. And this is the PSB room with their new Synchrony series and an NAD M33. It's pretty cool that it's a full Canadian system.
I'm glad I got dragged back in this room. Basically, our flight was delayed, and we were waiting in the lobby, and I hear a voice saying,
Kurt?
Yeah, Mr. Popular here.
Yeah, and then I look back, and it's Agatha from NAD and PSB. She's like, yeah, did you check out? She asked me if I checked out the room, and I said no, I didn't even know it was here. I already thought I was done with the show, but I will let you know, she's a very hard person to say no to. So I end up getting dragged back into the show to have a listen, and I'm glad I did. One thing is, it's with the M33, like both brands I know quite well, but I didn't really haven't listened to the PSB Symphony series, or actually this is my first time. I don't know, is it pretty new? I think it is. It
is their new flagship speaker,
okay.
I believe. Yeah,
so this is, and I've always liked PSB. One thing is too, one of my dream speakers before was the Stratus Golds, the ones that were built, I think, in somewhere in the mid 90s. That was one of my dreams back then. So I know I took some notes listening to this.
While Kurt's looking at his notes, one thing that I really did like about this PSB series was the fact that it is a Canadian brand, especially with the NAD M33. I think it's a pretty good matchup, speaker to amp. The other cool thing I like about this PSB series is that it comes with Isoacoustics Gaia feet in factory installed, which is actually a really significant upgrade for a speaker of this price at $10.99 or 10,000 Canadian. It's pretty shocking. One thing I'm sorry I missed out on is when Kurt got dragged back in. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, so I didn't get to really listen to this system that much.
Yeah, weren't you cold shopping?
I had to go see Essence.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
just desperate for coffee.
Yeah, again, this was really quick. When I went in there, now looking at it, the only really the one main song I listened to was, from Prince, When the Lights Go Down. One thing that surprised me with this speaker, it's quite dynamic, dynamic and articulate. From what the brief listen from what I heard, and I think that's one thing that stood out. I did sit down and listen. The stage was quite good, but because they had I don't know if they had curtains. I think they had curtains right behind. And sometimes when you have curtains behind, the psychoacoustic part kind of gets to you when you're listening to it, because I did have a chance to sit in the middle. What I mean by that is, as soon as they put up something right behind the speaker, whether it's a curtain, sometimes it's, and maybe one day we'll make a video on this, but it's really hard to actually perceive depth, when your brain kind of blocks that. So I couldn't really hear it, so to me, it seemed very kind of just more flat. But I think that's just because of the psychoacoustic part that was going on. But yeah, overall, I'm glad I got to listen to it, because in the combination too, is if you're looking, like I can see, if you're looking things that you just want is for that kind of price, in that combination, as transparent as I think as it can be in that price range, I would say it's going to play a lot of music that are just really quick, dynamic, especially like EDM. For sure, I have a feeling that's going to really stand out. So it'd be really nice. Maybe Agatha, and Dave, because got dragged back into the show the last minute. Maybe you'll send us a pair or something that we can have a listen to.
Hopefully you're enjoying our coverage on the Montreal Audio Show and our mini reviews. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one. We got one more coming up.